Alrighty, we are live on YouTube land now, so we are going to kick it off. Thanks everyone for showing up today. We have a special edition where we are introducing Amanda. I'll let her introduce herself in a little bit, but we had our marketing team coordinate with theirs, and now we are having someone from Bluebeam come in and talk about all things review or any questions relating to Bluebeam. There is a topic that we will be covering. But feel free to ask any questions related to Bluebeam at any time. We will be able to answer most all of them. So feel free to use the chat, the Q&A area. We will be sharing our screens if you have any questions pertaining to Bluebeam. But again, let me introduce Amanda here, who has gratefully joined us, and we appreciate it.
So thanks, Michael. So hey, everyone. I'm Amanda. I am a senior technical account manager with Bluebeam. And I'm based out of Chicago. Normally I'd be in the Chicago office, but pandemic life. So just working from home here in downtown Chicago. I joined Bluebeam in 2014, and my team, the technical account management team, we help our enterprise customers with their implementation, utilization, adoption of Bluebeam products. So before I joined Bluebeam, I was a project manager for Whiting Turner. I was working for them in Cleveland. I did a lot of big healthcare projects. My undergrad is in mechanical engineering. So I mostly did, mechanical, electrical, plumbing contracts, ran MEP coordination, stuff like that. So I was a Bluebeam review user. And then I found this opportunity with Bluebeam. I may have jumped up and down on the bed when I got the job offer. So, here I am.
That's awesome. And what were the primary workflows you were using when you were using review for that mechanical design environment?
Yeah. So, when I started with Whiting Turner, it was a long time ago. And we were, really doing everything on paper at that point. So I got to do all the really fun stuff, like handle the big drawings, stamp all these shop drawings with a actual stamp and fill out that stamp multiple times, get the hand cramp and all that. So I would say maybe 4 or so years, 3-4 years into my time with them, we all got Bluebeam Review, and it was like absolutely amazing. Like it instantly changed the way that I worked for the better. I never really had any official training on it. So knowing now what I know about what I could have been doing, it's kind of disappointing because I could have been, improving my workflows a lot more than I had been. But yeah, for like coordination, review is really that place that I would go to, if there was an RFI I needed to submit to the architect based on what we discussed in the coordination meeting. Review would be where I would go to bring in the plans, overlay them, add notes, add documentation, stuff like that, put together those sketches. Yeah, that type of thing.
Okay. And what do you think are the most helpful tips that you would recommend when you first transitioned and you started to learn how review could be more powerful, more useful? What would you recommend? Like just starting out, you're like, oh, I'm new, or I think I'm an advanced user. What would you recommend?
Yeah, well, so if you're new, I would recommend, click things. You can't really break anything. If you do something you want to go back, Control Z will undo it. So I think it's just go ahead, click around. Don't be afraid to try out the different features, see what's on there. And I would also, go onto our website. We've got so many different training videos, webinars posted. Those are a great place to start if you're just kind of looking to get into it and see what's possible.
Yeah, what type of workflows, what can be more beneficial as we're going through and learning how to use more of reviews aspects. There's a question in here from Paul, and Paul's asking, hi, when I create a new legend, it lists the items individually rather than a cumulative combined, I would just say, because I can't say that word. Any suggestions? So do you want to answer that, Amanda, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it and we'll see what you think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's probably sorting it based on, maybe if you have different subjects for each of that, So I would go into like select the legend, go into the properties of that and look to see what columns you're displaying. So depending on what information, it may be sorting them a little bit differently. And Michael, do you usually kind of screen share and show this stuff or?
Yeah, so I'll go in, but the other question would be, all my stuff's up. Sorry, guys. The other question would be, are you looking for more of a count? So it is all grouped under one edition place. I encountered this actually the other day talking with a client because they were doing punch keys, but they wanted to be able to change a comment, and all of those similar punch keys get changed to the new comments, which could be adapted by the count feature, right? Because those are all instances placed as that grouped item versus the singular one. But in terms of going through, we were talking about organizing, right? So let me just go down and place a sheet set here. And I'll just place some comments here. Or we'll just do this punch key, for instance. These are from your website, by the way, which I highly suggest downloading these. So you can quickly create a legend from either the tool sets directly with the gear symbol or from the markups list, right? Where you can multi-select Control or Shift. And then you can go over here and create your legend. Now, the question was, I guess if we place a couple of these, right, they're not grouping together in terms of quantity, right? Yes. So if there are 4 of the same item, it only shows up as one line item rather than 4 singles.
Yeah, I think that's what we're asking.
Yeah. And mine are all grouping together after they have been placed, even the same ones. And mine, if I click on my column and edit of subject, I have my units, quantity, which is the legend column specific, and description set up for mine. So maybe trying that. Any other recommendations, Amanda?
Trying to see. So you could maybe try switching the subject and the description. See what happens when you do that.
Yeah, so I guess the best reference, Paul, if you can't solve it, feel free to send it on over to us, like attach the legend, some comments to it, a PDF, and just start a support case. And we can troubleshoot it from there if there's still an issue in terms of, because ours is sorting by quantity. I'm having punch list items. I guess the other question would be, what type of markup are you using, right? To kind of get those line item counts as well. Great. So Amanda, continuing onward, what was the most beneficial knowledge, I guess, gained from transitioning over to the Bluebeam end? What were you like, oh, I wish, right?
Yeah,
I would have known that.
Good question. So really it was the understanding of how the markups, the tool chests, and the markups list work together. So those to me, those are like the 3 most powerful things that really unlock a lot of potential for like any workflow that you want to do, like punch, or if you're doing like a design review or doing a takeoff, anything. So yeah, I definitely did not really ever use the markups list and know how to use it or what it was, what the intent of it was. When I opened it, I was like, oh, this is pretty overwhelming. Just close that, get rid of that. But yeah, being able to know that like I can take any markup, I can assign it this data. So like I can give it a subject, I can add custom column information, and then all of that is being tracked down in the markups list, and I can export that information. That's where I think it gets really powerful, and that you can start to do some like very creative, innovative workflows. So like to give you an example, something we were doing on one of my last projects before I moved to Bluebeam is we were doing a completion list, and we were managing it on paper drawings and in Excel. And if we would have just like set that up in Bluebeam and, like set up markups to represent all those items that we were checking off, like we could have just been managing that in the markups list and not having to like go in and someone combine everyone's spreadsheets and, type it all into the computer. So that would have saved us a bunch of time. So I wish I would have known that.
Yeah, like doing statuses, right? Is that more of the
Yeah.
completion? Okay. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and and the cool thing too with design review that I've noticed that I wish I would have used as well was the completed status with the color change. I do that a lot now just for
Yeah.
my internal, because that old workflow of doing this, and even when I was in review, I was doing this like, hey, this is done, right? But you can do the updated color change, right? Which is pretty cool. Being able to go through and say, hey, I'm going to manage the status and modify when it does change. So that when I know I'm done and I run that running record of, hey, I've completed this in my design review and now it's changed, right? So then you don't have to do this
Yeah.
nonsense,
Yeah.
which is also
Yeah, I like that with the count tool as well. Like if you're, if you've taken time to go through and count off different items, like that's an easy transition to say like, all right, well now I'm going to separate all of these counts into individual counts. And then if I take this into the field, like I can use that for tracking installation really easily from there.
Oh, I
So
didn't think
it's like,
about
it's
that. Yeah.
so, yeah, it's so flexible. Like once you understand the basis of like any of the markups, I can assign it a subject. I can save it to my tool set so I can use it again. That subject will be in there. And then I can use the markups list to like track where that is. Like it's just, I think it's so powerful.
And like what day it was installed at what
Yeah.
time, right? Yeah. Now, when you're out in the field, would you prefer a Surface Pro or an iPad?
Depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
The Surface Pro, I mean, you're going to have all of the features that you would have on the desktop, which is really nice. So if that was my only device, I would want to have a Surface Pro. If I had a laptop in my office and I just wanted to go out, and maybe assign some statuses to some things, I think the iPad's a really nice solution for that. I'm just not going to do any of the heavy lifting with the iPad. It just doesn't have the same type of functionality. But as far as being able to open up a drawing in a session or check it out of a project and set a status on something, that's a pretty good easy workflow.
Yeah, and I agree. Okay, so another question rolling in from Ed. I will get to you, Mark, in a second. Amanda, will we ever be able to log into the admin gateway website and release a user license that maybe the computer crashed and it's still listed taking a seat?
Hmm. Yeah, so it depends on what type of licensing you
Yeah.
have. Our perpetual licensing, that isn't an option. You can go in and you can see, who's registered on there, but you would have to reach out to our licensing team to get help with that. We do have like an enterprise type of license, which is an add-on, which there are a couple of different benefits with the enterprise license. So one is that you can revoke users. Like, so if you were in that situation, you could go in and you could revoke that device, remove the license from that device. There is also like an overage with the seats that you can install. So like if you're working on transitioning a bunch of people from like old devices to new devices, things like that, you get a little bit of an overage there. And then the other part of it is that if you have a device that hasn't pinged the internet, so it's just internet activity, it means like the device hasn't been turned on for over more than 15 days, it will automatically unregister itself from the license. If it, maybe somebody was just on like an extended vacation because your company's awesome and you let them do that. If they came back after 3 weeks, if it was a known user on that license, they would be allowed back on. So the enterprise license would give you some more flexibility with that. And then we also have like a shared concurrent license that has some more flexibility as well. So yeah, if you're interested in, taking a look at your licensing, what you have, you could reach out to our licensing team and they could let you know and give you your options.
Yep. And we've showed that enterprise
Or reach out to
licensing.
Michael, he can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've showed the enterprise licensing before, that ability to revoke. If you want to take a look at it right now here, Ed, as well, and also reach out to your sales rep, Ed, if you are looking for that cost. It is an additional cost per license and it's minimal. I believe it's around $10. Don't quote me on that though, because I'm not the sales folks, so don't hold me to it.
I
But
think
I
you're
believe
right,
it's around
but I'm also
$10.
not the sales folks. So.
So yeah. And back to Paul, when you said about this legend, I think you're right. If you do have some custom columns that are asking for itemized instances in terms of like the date, it may build them out, right? Not all together like this, right? So just be aware that the way you're organizing your legend may have information that's making it distribute, not to that is making it itemize every instance versus grouping them together. Next question is, Mark, I know if you add a custom column, every markup in the drawing gets that column. Is there a way, or is it on a roadmap to add custom data to one specific tool, or markup, I guess, would be that for specific sets of tools?
That's a really interesting question. I think with the PDF spec, so the ISO standard for the PDF and the way that the markups list is built out, I don't know if that would be possible to do that with that functionality. But I'm really glad that you asked about the roadmap because Bluebeam
Drum roll.
yeah, there we go. Where is it? Bluebeam XCon Anywhere is next week. It's Tuesday and Wednesday, so it'll be a virtual event this year. And as part of that, so we have the full conference pass that you can sign up for. It's $99. With the full conference pass, you get access to everything, like all the customer-led sessions, see all the really cool workflows that they're doing. I personally think like that is just the best way to learn how other people are using the software. I know of like previous XCons that I've learned a lot from customers and what they're doing. The other option is that you can do just like the product. Well, we have two keynotes. We have got a keynote day 1 and day 2. So part of that will be sharing our roadmap. So that would be a good place. And that keynote passes no cost. So I would encourage everyone on here to sign up for at least that at the minimum.
Yeah. And if it's too short of notice, I believe you guys still do the recordings. Is that right, Amanda? So if they're like, oh, well, I now know that there's XCon.
Yeah, if you
keynote at least, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
Actually, if you sign up for the full conference pass, you will have access to the sessions, recorded sessions afterwards. I'm not sure if you just do the complimentary keynote pass. I don't know if we're posting those for everyone.
Okay. So that was great. And I agree. The specific tool, there was one custom data where I was trying to do for casework, and I had like a custom column that was taking a cost value for area, but not the whole volume. And when I did the cost, it was like already itemizing that cost for this one. So they had to turn it off when they were running a list. But anyways, back to another one from a different Mark Cummings. He's asking, can you customize the appearance of an exported markup list? Can the output look more like what we see on a screen, more column? So table-like, I'm guessing, is your question. And you can up in the PDF summary. So when you go to output, right, this also controls what you're distributing here. By default, Review will print out your summary with whatever columns you have displayed by default. But you can go in through here and change that, or you can change just directly down below what you're showing your information and what you're sorting your data by, right? But your output can be changed to what type of style right here. You have flow, which is the out of the box, like picture next to it and title. But then you can have a table format here as well. And by the way, I was just talking with a client yesterday about this. You can also have a template. So let's say if you had a logo that you wanted to show on your pages, every time you printed out the report, you could insert that PDF. It just grabs a PDF of that file and brings that in. So if you wanted to have a template for it to follow suit with, you can also do that. There's a question.
I was just going to add, you can also change the export to CSV. So if you wanted to just bring this right into Excel, that's an option too. So that would be very table-like, very spreadsheet-like.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
And then you can print it from Excel if you wanted it to be like that table cellular format, right? Yeah. As a PDF.
I also really like to point out, because I think this gets overlooked, those save config and load config options on there, super helpful. So if you have a report that you're running all the time, so let's say maybe you are doing a design review and you only want to see the comments that are still open, like you can set up your configuration and save that. And then when you go to run the report again, you don't have to like go in and check all the boxes. You can just hit load config, load it in your file and run the report. So that's a good time saving step there.
And also sharing it with colleagues, right? Like you took the time, you're like, oh, well, actually, I guess you don't want to, hey, if you give me some coffee, maybe I'll
I'll
give you the config.
Where's the chocolate?
Yeah, exactly. Next question. So there's one from YouTube land. Hey, someone from Ireland calling in. Have you made custom columns using formulas? Thanks, Dave. I think thanks, and his name is Dave. So yes, we have done that before. If you go to our YouTube channel, under ATG, we do have all of our past ones. So if you go to our YouTube channel, right here, I think we did. Nope, I'm cutting out. That's why I was like, my internet's slow, and it's really just me being slow.
You're back.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, if you go to my YouTube land here, let me turn on my fans because I don't want to overheat and then get dropped. But okay, so you have the morning coffee review, and we did some. It was the markups list somewhere down here. Maybe it was a custom markups. Yeah, so custom markups right here is where we did some custom columns. So if you're looking for formula-based ones, yes, you can do formula-based ones. You could take like a cost. Let's just take casework, for instance. If you wanted to know an area time a cost value that then inputs it directly in review, you can do that. Yes. Anything to add to that, Amanda, for formula-based ones?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think use them. They're great.
I agree. Yeah, because then you don't have to export out to something like Excel, but you can if you wanted to, right? Next question. If we have a combined PDF with bookmarks set up, is there a way to split the PDFs with keeping the bookmarks on?
I'd have to run through it. If you go to...
So I believe that is a yes. I remember when you do the export as. So let me go through and create some bookmarks for you here. I think it's when you do the export as. Oops, not the add. You can say separate, but keep bookmarks. So let me see. Go through here. I'm going to add my number first, and then we'll do an underscore. Oh, oops, edit. So I learned the underscore from somebody that uses this in conjunction with Procore. So I guess it likes to read the underscore. And I think they like the space too. But so bookmarks here, if you go and say then from here, export, extract pages, I believe. Yeah, hyperlinks and relative paths. But does that bring the bookmarks?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, extract pages as separate files, use page labels. So it brings the labels.
Name the files. Yeah. I would go maybe under document. There's I think it's under document, like a split option. Yeah. Let's see what's in there.
So it just says top level bookmarks.
So I would try that. That would maybe bring them over.
Okay.
So that would like give you a single PDF for each level, like each top level bookmark. So I'm not sure if that's what you're going for or not.
So we're getting some more questions in. I think, David, how about calculating portions of timber and LGs? Yeah, so if you wanted to do lengths, David from YouTube World, you could do a length and then that times, or you can even do volume and depth. Depth and volume is one and the same, but yeah, and multiply that by a given number, you can. David, at the end, there's it's on YouTube though, but if you just put in the chat what you have for a request on a session, we can definitely cover some type of timber cost information. But back to this. So yes, if you have any questions more about the exporting of the bookmarks, please ask. If this didn't help, feel free to shoot us an email as well. Next one is Mark said, thanks, Amanda. I did sign up last week for the free keynote. I know there was something around .csv export and its ability to export text if used rich text for comments, which was checked. We were getting blank cells. So I haven't encountered an issue yet with exporting data to CSV where something didn't export. The only thing that I know that doesn't export is pictures to CSV. It just says like a yes value, right? For that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was maybe a bug and at some point, yeah, if you were working with tech support, I would maybe reach out to them to see if they have an update, but I haven't come across that either.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to tech support here at ATG as well for that. Like send your PDF with it or attach it when you create your case, and we'll be able to test it for you. And remember, if we need that link, we can definitely send you one. Another question is from Doug. Is there a way to set the default color for spaces? So I get that. So by, set this creation of the space by default, or because I know out of Revit, rooms come in as spaces, but you can't default a color schema for it. But I'm guessing you're asking when you do this, is there a set default? Let me see. We'll just do area A. I don't know if there is a set default. No, there isn't. Do you know if there is? Yeah.
I was just looking through the preferences. I don't see anything.
Space. Yeah. What if we go to even here? Yeah. Because there's no properties that show up for it either.
Right.
Amanda, is there a area where you can drop requests?
Yeah,
for Bluebeam?
There is. I was just gonna say, go if you hit help
okay.
at the top, and then you could just make a suggestion. There you go. You can submit that directly to our product management team.
There we go. So if there are some line items you're like, I wish it could do that. And maybe you've come into the morning coffee review and we've tested it out, or you've all tested it out yourselves and you would like to make a suggestion. Here we go. That's a great area under the help, going to then make a suggestion and then applying it here. Wow. Let's see. Looks like you have, what's Atlas?
So Atlas is a like mapping technology. Okay. So it is like kind of, if you think about like using Google Maps, but on a construction site on your phone. So we are kind of doing some like beta kind of pilot group stuff for a product that we called Rover. So if you guys attend the Extreme conference next morning or next week, you'll find out more about that. And it has some built-in Atlas technology as part of it. So just some things that, we're working on, some things you'll find out on the roadmap next week.
Okay. That's great. And then drawings, for us folks that have been in a couple morning coffee reviews have seen this before, but Bluebeam Drawings, right, is another software application that Bluebeam's created for viewing PDFs mobilely, which is huge. I love to show that off as well. And then there's Prime and integration. So Studio Prime, which is a second subscription, review for the desktop, review for the iPad, and then Studio. Doug, it would be a great feature to add. So yeah, I guess you can come into here and request that. And I think there was another one, which was they were requesting or suggestion of singular custom columns specific to a markup.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a good one to submit as well. While we're on the help menu, we should also point out there is, I think there's an option, help make review better. Is it on there? Yeah, there it is under suggestion, help make review better. So this is our customer development program. So if anyone is interested in, maybe seeing some early prototype stuff that we're working on and giving us feedback or helping us with research activities, it would be great if you could join this program. Our product team, this is the group that they go to, when they're looking to find out more stuff that they're like stuff that they need help working on.
So if you want to be some of those testers that get in early to test some product, right?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
That's the place to be.
Yeah, I had no idea this was here. So this is definitely a great area. I suggest everyone, if you're not on this list already, to definitely join in. And that definitely helps your team, right? Because then it gets them some more folks to do some R&D for, which is great. Let's see. Any more questions? This one, can we customize the appearance of an expert markups list? Yes, we did that one. So it's done. And our chat, see if I missed any here. Thanks. Alrighty. And we are good. Anything else to add from the help area? I do like showing clients when I am going through training because, right, we're saving paper by using this portable document format. And I love how Review has this keyboard shortcuts here, right here. So you don't have to have printouts of it and then people only use it maybe once and then throw the paper away, right? They have that ability right here to go through and grab their keyboard shortcuts. And you can also, by the way, launch tutorials directly from here that have PDFs to walk you through some workflows, which is another great area. If you're new to Review, you can just quickly launch through, like, I think they're a couple minutes, right, Amanda?
Yeah, they're pretty quick, but yeah, they're really good. I really like that they have the PDF samples in there too.
I do
so,
too.
Yeah, if you wanted to see like what is a Bluebeam set, there's one of those in there. There are like a takeoff that you can see like what that looks like, what it looks like in the markups list, different things there. So
yeah, just like this, you select it and then you're like, well, what am I looking to do? Right. Field issues, maybe some drawing management or document. It's really quick and easy to go through and do this. I love how you all at Bluebeam have integrated this into making it more useful, right? I'm like, hey, I just go here and it's right there. It's super helpful. I love it.
I've got some good music too. So,
yeah,
music break.
Yeah, they do. And also I showed earlier the punch list items. So is this? Yeah, this is a custom libraries area. I'll put it in the chat again for those of us folks just jumping into Review. If you're ever looking for any custom tool sets, this is a great area where you can go through and download a lot of these custom tool sets already out of the box or stamps.
And you pulled that up because you had that favorited, right?
Correct.
Website. So that's a good tip too.
Yes.
In itself.
Yeah. So Review does have the search engine in it as well. You can also favorite it and you can export this as well. Jason taught me this the other week because he's like, I resetted everything and now I don't have my favorites. And we're used to going to these favorited items to show clients. And you can do
smart.
that.
I don't actually never do that. I should start doing that. There's always like a handful of websites I want to show people.
Yeah, exactly. And then us as instructors, right? We reset, like you just before we started, you're like, let me reset real quick. And I'm always like, when I reset, everything's gone.
Yes.
But yeah, you can actually import or export these, which is pretty cool. So you can export the standard out to wherever you need to. It's an XML, which has the web link here, which is pretty nifty.
The other thing under the help menu is this is new to Review 20. So if you're not on Review 20 yet, you won't see this, but at the top, there's a find tools and commands. So if you just like can't remember, like, where is that snapshot tool? Like you can just type it in there and find it from there. So that is a great add.
And it starts leading you to, which is what I like. So you're like, oh,
Yeah.
these are all things that contain an S.
Yeah.
So
Where are
as
my
long as
S
you,
tools?
yeah, as long as you can remember just that first letter, right, then you can go through and start typing out what you need to. So snap. My tools number shortcuts are a great tip. I agree. That is something I've actually worked with a client that had over 100 of them.
Ooh,
But hey, you know your hotkeys, you know your hotkeys. So
yeah.
in the tool sets area, there are different tool sets. And by default, the recent tools does go away when you close out of your complete session of review, not when you close out of the PDF. But if you want to save your custom markups or tool sets, you can to My Tools versus an individual tool set. And there's these numbers. And some clients, usually when I talk to them, I usually ask, hey, what do you think these are for? And some are like, hey, just to help you order. They're actually hotkeys as well. So you can just go through and press your number key. And it's fun to watch too when you start to get to double digits. When you press it, let's say I had 90 and I did 90. When you press 9, I guess that's 8. Gosh, I'm blind. Hold on. There we go. So down here is your drag bar to like help you because I'm like, is that a 9 or an 8? From here, you can go through and press 8. It'll indicate the rectangle. And then if you had 80, your next 0, then it will go to the next command. Just funny to watch. We use them for specific tasks. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I really like to do with this, and if everyone should have this set up, like just everyone. So when I first started using Review, one of the things that I was just like so happy about is that I could create a work order and sign it without having to get up from my desk and go to the printer in the scanner like 3 times. So one thing that I really like is like setting up your signature. So like a wet image, like if you scan that in, like take a picture of your phone, create a PDF, however you do it, use the snapshot tool to create a markup image of it. And then you can save that into my tools. And then if you have that like hotkey, like 1, 2, and whatever it is, it's just such an easy way to sign documents.
So scanning it in and then just the snapshot. So we'll just say, for instance, this is my signature, which it definitely isn't. But
there are a couple of different ways you can do it. If you have like a pen stylus, you could just use the pen tool and just like create a markup with it. If you don't, like I don't have that set up. So what I'll do is I will just take like a picture of I'll sign an actual piece of paper, take a picture of that, email it to myself, make a PDF or add the image to the PDF. And then you can use the snapshot tool to create it. Cause then you can like take the background and mask it. So
okay. And then it's overriding of whatever it is, or you can change it to like an underlay. Okay.
Yeah. And if you want help with that, maybe Michael will make you a video, or we have I think we have a support help tutorial on it on our webpage too, on the Bluebeam support page.
Yep. And I've done that for custom stamp. I don't think I've done a 3-minute video for signature. And you can also take that same snapshot if you wanted to and use it from the signature sign and seal if you wanted more of an encrypted one. So it's either or. If you're one of those folks, it's like, I need it to be encrypted, I need a passcode behind it. Great. You can still import that same exact wet signature to the sign and seal, or you can just grab it from here, whichever you prefer. It's completely up to you. A question from Mark. We use that specific task. One day it would be nice to have keyboard shortcuts for our custom tools markups in our tool sets. That's what he was saying. I mean, so you do have keyboard shortcuts here, right? So if you're adding them, they are assigned, but I'm guessing you're saying for these ones down here, right? So yes. Yeah. I guess the workaround would just be grabbing that same one and dragging it over, right? Then you have a copy and you can just use your keyboard shortcut and it's the same one from the engineer.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is you can actually pin the tool set to the toolbar. So if you're like, I just want to have that panel close, If you click on that gear, yeah, you can come down and hit pin and pin it to like an existing toolbar. You can create a new toolbar, and then it will just like be a little pop out. So that's also just like if you're just trying to keep the tool chest panel closed because you're trying to, free up your interface space. That's something else you can do, but doesn't really, it doesn't alleviate you from being able to like have to like move your mouse around.
Yeah. Go up and click
Still
it.
got to do it.
Yeah. And you can customize keyboard shortcuts too. So if you wanted to, you can go to your preferences and set those up if you wanted, and you can export and import them in as well. We did that in another morning coffee review as well. Yes, we do that for specific tasks. Like each day, users will put some tools from our other tool sets that they might use frequently that one day. Yep. And then move them around. And that goes for any command, right? Any area that you're going through and you're like, hey, I want this to be pinned. The icons show up here right next to them. So if you want to pin that to an existing one, instead of going through and customizing by right clicking, hitting customizing and adding it, you can do that for any command. If you want to pin it to maybe something that's more convenient that's already been created from out of the box. All righty. Any other questions? Again, at any point, feel free to ask any questions. We are here to answer them. Let's go back to what we've learned. Amanda, what else do you think is a huge addition for when you first started out? We talked about the markups list. We talked about the custom tool sets. Is there anything you think of that could be more additional value added?
Yeah. So I also I don't like to get in trouble. So I never clicked on the studio sign in button. You should click on the studio sign in button. Like if you don't have an account, get in there, create a session, collaborate. Yeah, that's something that I wasn't using that I really wish I would have been. So if you guys aren't familiar with Studio, so they're Bluebeam Studio, you have the ability to create a studio session, which you can have up to 500 people reviewing the same PDF at the same time in studio session. And then you can also create projects, which is more like a lightweight document management system. So if you were, setting up your project documents, you want to keep your current set in there, people can check in and check out files. So like just one at a time. So that's like a really great way to share files with the field as well. So if you haven't clicked on Studio, I would investigate that and don't be afraid of it.
I agree. And I do know there's one line item question for this, for those folks that are using Studio every day. It is the having to log in every single time now.
Yeah. So that was, we're changing our identification servers, which is part of just, overall security protocols improvements that we're making. So that has been one of the changes that has been implemented with that. We just are kind of releasing that we're going to come out with an update next month. I think towards the end of the month that will change that process a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what the change will be, but it should help with this situation because I know there's been a lot of feedback that people aren't liking that they have to sign in every time,
like
even though it's
time.
like a security type thing. So yeah. We hear you, we're listening. So we're working on something there for you guys.
Yeah, and everyone listening, see that they are listening. So if you're like, I wish they would just fix this, they are listening. Yeah. So use that button we talked about, right? Make a suggestion if you do have something that is not working for you in terms of like, I wish this was like this. Make the suggestion and they are listening, as we just heard from Amanda. So Studio has been a lifesaver now that most of us work from home. I agree. Using Studio projects, even if you're using work from home or a hybrid environment, right? And you need somewhere to store everything so you can work simultaneously. You're not like downloading, creating these duplicate files, right? Is definitely great for studio projects or studio sessions too.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that. Personally, like the reason I work for Bluebeam is that like we put people at the center of what we're doing and, try to like release stuff like Studio that can help you guys. So I'm just like, yes, I'm very happy that Bluebeam has been such a help for people in a time that's already been super difficult.
Yeah. And I think it was a huge transition to users not realizing that this was a feature because there wasn't really enough or pressure to learn this feature, right?
Yeah.
Um, it was a huge value add when clients were like, "Oh, I don't have to pay extra, right? I already own the software and I can use studio projects and studio sessions to my full benefit. I just need to learn it, right?" Is kind of where they were at.
Yeah.
And again, Studio Projects is like a storage and not like a storage, it is a storage. um, and you can create your sessions from your projects, by the way. So if you're trying to have a true area of not duplicate documents, because they are two different buckets of storage, I believe, right? Where you have,
Yeah.
they're two different cloud storages, but you can link it directly from projects. So from here, you can link documents and there will be the icon if it is added to a session. So you don't have to download, upload to the session. You can do it directly from here as well. Question came through from Mark. I like these split windows and sync views to review multiple disciplines like mechanical versus plumbing. Good way to validate markups have been picked up or coordination. I know you can do overlay and compare as well. This is great. We find split views are great to review equipment on drawings. And okay, so talking about the workflow that they are using for specs and going through and doing that. That's great. I do like the split feature as well and the synchronized views. You can also, if you have multiple screens, which I think most do, maybe some of us don't, that's okay as well. You can drag these out and still have synced views, by the way. So this can still be synchronized and you can have a full set synchronized as you're going through as well, which is very convenient. I can't really use my second screen though. It's like horizontal. So
One of those, the
yeah, I'm
horizontal view.
one of those.
Two types
One
of
of those
people in
folks.
this world, Michael.
Yeah, I know, and I'm one of them. Sorry.
Yeah. You can put your
Question.
specs over there.
Yeah. Question from David. A great way to use multiple monitors is to drag your markup list to a second screen.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yep. And the markups list. So any panel can be dragged out of the UI, by the way. So any of these panels, you can always add additional ones by right clicking on the panel and saying show or using the hotkeys associated to them. And these can be dragged out to a second screen. Now, what can't be dragged out of the UI is the toolbars. So just be aware of that. They have to stay in the user interface, but your panels can be brought out. You can either right click and say attach and detach, or left click and hold and drag it out. And this can be used on a second screen for more real estate, right? So if you're one of those folks as the left screen horizontal, I mean vertical, right? Where just
Yeah.
you got tons
Yeah,
of real
that's a good
estate.
place for those.
That's where I should be having
all your
it.
panels over there. It's the panel screen.
Yep.
You may be selling me on this.
I have it because like I'll have my email there and I can see my full calendar. And then it doesn't take up like I can wrap it. So it's just better. Mark said, yep, that's a great, exactly, at multi-layouts. Exactly. And then going through back to Studio, you have that ability again to create that session. You can also create things like dashboards, which are great digital visualizations to navigating through your files as well. And you can still have those sessions integrated into there too. Anything else to add for projects or sessions, Amanda?
Yeah, for projects. So this is a setting that every studio user should know about, well, especially if you're using studio projects. But a lot of times people get started using projects and they'll upload their files, maybe they'll have a revision, they want to batch slip sheet them in, whatever they need to do. And what they'll do is they'll download their set and then do the changes on their desktop and then re-upload it. But there is a secret setting. It's not really secret, but I'm going to say it's secret because unless you know to look for it, you don't know that it's there. Under your preferences, where it will allow you to run the features on the files within the studio project. So that's a very important button to know about. And so there are a couple of things that you can do to kind of set it up. So Yeah, so under the studio preferences, I can never remember which way is on or off. But if you uncheck it versus if you check it, it will do a different thing. So the open and save files to studio from toolbar only. So like right now, like if you don't have this setting switched, if you go to like file open in review, it's going to take you to your desktop, right? Or your C drive, wherever you're going. If you change that setting, what it will do is it will, if you're logged into Studio, it will default to like your Studio project files. So you can go right into your Studio projects. Same thing if you're like, I'm going to run backlink on these files that are already in my Studio project. If you have that setting changed, then you can just run them right from your Studio project. There also is, I think it's maybe an interface. There's that always show selection dialog option. I like to turn that on too, because then it gives me this interface where I can either choose like, okay, I want to go to my computer or I want to go into Studio. So rather than just defaulting to Studio, if you have the other option. So those are my tips. Those are the things that if you're going to use projects, you need to know about these little settings.
So we heard it here first. This is definitely,
Yeah.
I haven't used this one, but I have used this one for setting up dashboards to link directly to the project, right? Because you can't grab that folder to set up that action unless you have this selected.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to go through and do this. So this shows up that
and
box.
That's also like that'll work too. Like if you're directly logging into like SharePoint or ProjectWise too, like that will give you the selection dialog.
Okay. And is SharePoint, does that pop up in like your Windows Explorer, like on a left little login for that SharePoint, or is it no?
You could do it that way. You can like set up there's like also like a DMS toolbar that you can turn on. But if you have this box checked, if you hit OK now, and then you go to file, just go like file open. But why didn't it do it? Oh, maybe we have to uncheck that other one. See, I just can't remember. This is why you have to go through every single time. And
it's this one, right?
Uncheck that one. Yeah. Okay. Now go to file open. So see how it'll give you this choices. So if you were also logged into like SharePoint, you could also choose open from SharePoint here too.
Okay.
So that's,
and then it says my status too.
Yeah. So this showed selection dialog. This is the selection dialog screen. So I like to have that as a choice. So I can choose where I'm going, choose my own adventure.
Okay, so it could be going through to your SharePoint or the other one that you listed, or your project or your computer, wherever you have it saved.
Yeah.
That way you can open it and manipulate it wherever it is, and it saves back to there, right?
Yep.
It's a great tip. Let's see. Yes, that's a great. That I heard. No. Okay. That's great. And that's definitely, you do need this one selected if you're creating dashboards, by the way, to link an action. You don't need it if you're creating a dashboard and you're just doing it to your storage, to your local server. But if you are doing it elsewhere, you do need that setting over here in Studio to be unselected so that you can point to your project wherever it is, so it can open those files. From YouTube land, David again, had issues with quantity link breaking in Excel when folders moved, say to OneDrive, company server. I have a workaround, but wonder if I'm doing something wrong. So your links were not maintained. I'm guessing links probably broke because you broke where they were saved originally. Would you agree with that, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay. So a way to fix that would be to maybe do it in Studio Projects, and then it's that one stored area.
Well, you can actually, quantity link is not supported with Studio Projects because you can't create that direct link back to the files in the project. So it would have to be somewhere that you can, like the PDFs would have to be stored somewhere that you can like link to like a relative link or a direct link on your computer. So if it's on OneDrive, I think maybe if you have like the OneDrive sync folder, that may work, or if it's like a C drive or O drive. So that could also be maybe something to look into. It may not be recognizing the location, but so if you moved it, it's probably, like if you moved it, it's probably because it they probably broke because the files moved and it's not recognizing the path. So I would start there, relinking it.
And you're saying to do it to OneDrive. Does OneDrive have the window
don't
open
know.
like SharePoint? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would work with OneDrive or not. I don't really typically use OneDrive. I haven't really tested it out. But yeah, it won't work with Studio project files, unfortunately.
It doesn't know the link for that. That's
Yeah.
one of those things that we should do this.
Yeah, for sure. Send that one in, everyone.
Any other questions from the YouTube world or the chat feature? We have about 4 minutes left. And again, thank you, everyone at the Bluebeam Men, and Josh is in the attendee list. Thank you for coordinating this with Amanda, for allowing and asking Amanda to attend with us. We appreciate this. And everyone listening in, thank you for always showing up and being an attendee and learning all things about Bluebeam. We appreciate all of you. We wouldn't be doing this if you weren't attending. So at the end, feel free to use the Q&A, or it's not Q&A, it's more of like a review, and tell us what you want to hear, other things, and how we did today as well. We can't be better unless you let us know what we are doing poorly. And thanks, Amanda. Do you have any finishing notes?
Sign up for XCon.
That's great.
That's my note.
Yep.
It'll be really good. Even if you only can make the keynotes, you should sign up. It's always a fun event, especially when it can be live in person, but it should be really fun next week too. So
yeah, and I hope that we can maybe do, or if they do it live, we'll be able to attend. If not, then at least, again, virtual. It's still going to be a great time. You will get a lot of information, a lot of workflows that real world use cases. So highly suggest checking it out. And again, if you can't make the full schedule, do check out the keynotes, and we'll get a confirmation about that video if you can't make it because you're just learning about it today and you can't take the time off. We'll get you some more info if you will get a recording, or there will be posts about those keynotes for you as well.
And you can find the registration, the website URL, it's bluebeamxstream.com. That's the XCon registration.
Let me copy that here. So everyone in the chat.
And if you do the full pass, we're just gonna get shameless plugs here. If you do the full
go
pass,
ahead.
I'm doing a special event with the B1M. So if you're not familiar with the B1M, they are the world's most subscribed to construction channel, video construction channel. So they feature just a ton of industry trends, cool projects. They're based out of the UK. They're excellent. So we're doing a special event with them on day one of the conference. So we'll be talking about construction's critical future. So myself and Fred Mills from the B1M will be co-hosting it, and we have a panel of experts, and you will have the ability to ask them questions. So it should be really fun. It should be a good event.
So highly recommend checking that out if you want to hear more from Amanda. I'll definitely be trying to check that out. I need to look at my schedule. I forgot what I signed up for. And again, at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We appreciate you, Amanda. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, this was amazing. And maybe, hopefully in advance, we can have you back. Maybe after XCon, you can talk about what you talked about. We'll definitely see if we could do that.
I love it.
All righty. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, everyone. Thank you from the YouTube land. And thanks, everyone that attended. And hope you have a good rest of your week.